So my name is Alex Welz, and I'm a senior developer and a senior build engineer for Simplus. So Simplus, most of their work is in CPQ. So CPQ is quote to cash. So basically it's, while I was coming up here, see, I've been working on CPQ nonstop for like 2.5 years. That's all I think about. So I think everybody knows what CPQ is. And then I realized, well, probably not everybody knows what CPQ is. So I'll give you a quick, brief description of what CPQ is, and then how price rules kind of affect the bundle structure and all. So I had a client that came to us a couple months ago or so, and they handed me a spreadsheet, that was a complicated spreadsheet with multiple tabs on it, and they said, we want this in CPQ, and build it. And I had to go and kind of rip apart this whole spreadsheet, figure out what it actually did, and build it. This was for a training seminar. So they have one SKU for the training, and underneath that they had multiple lines, one of which was training days and another was students. Right? So when you're talking about bundles, you're kind of packaging everything all together. It's kind of like when you buy a computer, you're not just buying the computer, you're buying all the components that go along with it. So all the components that go along with it is all the bundle, right? The computer's entire bundle, right? So in this case it was training. So they were selling the training, and they were selling the training days, and they were selling students. Now, they were pricing it by students. Now, the complicated piece of this was the students was the quantity of students times the number of training days times the list price for the students. Right? So you have to go and try to figure out how to go and do the math. So the price rule, this is kind of easy, because I can go, price rules overwrite specific values in either the quote or the quote lines. The quote lines are those individual line items that are part of the bundle. So a common thing that I'm always troubleshooting with other people at Simplus, and they come to me, and one of the things is they have to go and click calculate twice. So because the pricing engine didn't work right. So something hiccuped, something was out of order when that happens. So it's important to understand how the order goes. Now also with price rules overwrite a specific field. And I always have people that come to me and say, well, can I do that in a workflow or a process builder? And you can't use that inside CPQ because it'll go and spike your SOCL queries sky high and you'll hit the limits. Right? So you have to use price rules instead of workflows and process builder. So this is a little bit about what I'm going to go over. So what's the problem, which I already kind of explained, and then the order of operations, how price rules work, and then we'll do questions and answers afterwards. So the double-click problem, this is just an example of the quote line editor. So we also call this the QLE for short. And you'll either click calculate or you'll click save. So you'll click one of those two, and then it's going to go and start running through the pricing engine. Now, the double click, the two most common problems when it comes to the double click is a summary variable or a formula field. So summary variables, this is going to be totaling up something inside the quote, like maybe how many products do you have, or how many products do you have in a certain family. And it might use that to go and calculate something else, right? So now when it comes to summary variables are you have to know all the information before you start entering into the pricing engine. So with formula fields, they don't calculate until after the entire thing is all done, until the entire sequence of the entire pricing engine is all done. So it hits the end. So it doesn't know what these values are, so then you have to click on calculate a second time, and now it knows the values and it's able to calculate them all correctly. So the pricing engine hits in multiple different places. The ones that we're most concerned with are these last three. So either the save and the quick save inside the quote line editor. So the calculate, which is also inside the calculate, and then there's a new feature which was just introduced, I think, in the previous release of Salesforce, where there's now a calculate on the quote itself. So like I said, the summary variables are calculated right in the very beginning, and then you hit all the, it evaluates all the conditions, and then it performs all the actions. So with pricing, I believe I have this in the second. Yep, here it is. So with price rules, we're not going to get into the quote calculator plugin because this is actual real code, right? This stuff is much easier. So this is where most people do a lot of the development. If they can't figure it out here, then they can write actual code, because you can do anything you want in code. So it's similar to Apex. So it's going to go and first load up the records, and then there's 4 sequences which price rules hit. There's on initialization, before calculate, on calculate, and then after calculate. So, and it's going to go and hit in this order, and these are the different things that happen. So there's something inside CPQ called the pricing waterfall, which is the exact sequence of how it goes about doing all of its calculations. So sometimes you have to know things before it gets into that, where it does all its calculations, so you get a final result of what the price is. So that's all going to go and hit here. So, but in this presentation, what we're most concerned with is what happens before all of this and what happens afterwards. Because this is where you're going to hit the sequencing problem. And you also have to know what order things are going to happen. So, because a lot of times with pricing, things have to go in a very specific order. And you can figure out that order just by looking at these things. And luckily, they named them fairly well, which is initialization, before calculate, on calculate, and after calculate. So, and then you can go and say what order those are inside even these. So you can say exactly what the order is. So I know that I covered a lot of information. So and I see a lot of nodding heads, and all throughout this I saw people taking pictures. If you have any questions, you can always talk to me afterwards. So I work on this stuff every single day. So. And for clients, anywhere from, 20, 30 people all the way up to, I think I'm working on a fairly large one now, which is, one of the big powerhouses down here in the Bay Area. So the clients of all different sizes. So this is something I work on every single day. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Okay? So, and that's it.